Morning, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School, back out here with another in our 10 Minutes to Better Land Nav series. My goal with this series is to make you master navigators. If you follow the steps and rules I teach you in this video, you will have no problem with navigation from this point on. We're going to talk more about GPS and maps, maps to GPS. We're going to talk about all that kind of stuff as we go. But we have to take this in steps, okay? I believe in the crawl, walk, run method. So we're putting things together slowly but surely to get where we want to go, all right? Today we're going to discuss 5 navigational tools. And these tools are things that you'll use when you're planning routes on a map. Now that we know what we're looking at on a map, we need to understand how to plan a route on a map so that we're just not drawing lines and saying we're going to go here, here, and here, and it doesn't make any sense with the terrain, okay? Because the terrain can dictate your route a lot of times. You can't walk straight across a cliff. You have to be able to circumvent that. You want to be able to take advantage of terrain features like ridge lines and things like that, valleys that you can walk through, that you can take low ground and the path of least resistance. So we're going to talk about that today. And we have 5 tools that we're going to discuss. The first tool is a handrail. I'm going to show you some examples of these things on the map here in a minute. But a handrail is generally a linear object that's running up and down the map or across, depending on which way you're walking, which direction you're walking. But it's running linear to your position. And it's something that you can not reach out and touch necessarily like a handrail, but it's something that you can keep on one side of you. And if you stray too far, you're going to hit it and you know, okay, I need to be inside this. So if you had a road, if you had a creek, or some type of a stream, if you had a railroad bed, anything like that that runs linear, a pipeline that runs linear to the direction you're trying to walk, okay, that becomes a handrail. A backstop is something that you plan to not go beyond. And again, that could be a perpendicular object to your position that you're walking. So if I'm walking north-south, and in the north, there's some type of a hard road, a trail, a creek or a stream. Again, all of those things can be used as backstops to tell me I don't go any further than this, or I've missed where I plan to turn, or I missed my target, all right? An attack point is something that you use to get you closer to where you want to be by easier methods. So we talked about that not being able to walk across a cliff. Maybe our targeted area that we want to explore or be in, or our target location is on one side of a cliff and there's a cliff face here. Well, to get to that, we can't navigate to here, but we can navigate someplace that's close to that, maybe just on the other side of that cliff face over here, and that becomes an attack point to take a straight line azimuth to dead reckon to that location. Those are attack points. It could be a known point on the map, like a 3-way intersection of a trail, and our point is up here in the woods. And we know if we get to that 3-way intersection, we can take a straight line azimuth that's a short distance and dead reckon to that object. Those are attack points, okay? An escape azimuth is something that we plan before we go out. So again, it comes down to kind of this same concept of a handrail, but it's something that's linear, or it could be perpendicular, but it's someplace that's our safe zone. Somewhere that if we get lost and we get turned around inside here, we can plug that azimuth in, we can turn our body to needles in the doghouse and walk that direction and hit a linear known object on the map, okay? That is an escape azimuth. Aiming off is something that we would use if we understand our lateral drift. And it's very important for you when you're doing your pace counting to understand your natural tendency of lateral drift, left or right. And you would aim off in the direction of your natural lateral drift to a backstop. So let's just say, for sake of purpose, there's a creek that runs down through here and our camp is on this creek, all right? And we're walking from this direction to get to our camp. If our location was here and we shot a direct line azimuth from here to here, and our natural lateral drift is to the left, then we probably would shoot our azimuth to the left on purpose of this object, so that if we drift past it as we're walking, we're still going to hit this linear object. And we know that when we hit this backstop, we've aimed off to the left, so we're automatically going to turn right on that linear object to get back to our camp. Okay, so let's say we're operating in this area of the map, okay, which is a grid square and a half, probably, so 1.5 kilometers both directions, all right? And we're exploring this area, which is something I'm doing actually right now because there's a lot of trails on this map. You can see I've got a TH right down here. That's a trailhead. I've been to this trail and I have this junction here marked on Gaia on my GPS. And from here, I walked a trail that connected with this one. So I need to map that trail, and we'll get to that stuff later. But if I'm operating in this area, let's look at the tools, all right? So first, let's talk about handrails, okay? What am I using for a handrail in here? Well, I'm really not using a handrail once I get off this pipeline. So I can walk this pipeline to this trailhead, and that's kind of a handrail to walk down that pipeline. Once I step off of that into the woods here, there's really no handrails here because the trail actually went uphill. It didn't skirt anything. I could use this landmass here as a handrail if I wanted to go over into here somewhere, and I could walk around, staying kind of below the high ground but above the low ground, and just kind of walk this around, this contour line all the way around. I could do that. And that would be a handrail. So as I'm walking down through here, I'm making sure that, number one, this creek now becomes my handrail. Once I step off the pipeline and go this way, this becomes my handrail. So now I'm walking around this terrain here, and I'm making sure that I don't go off into this handrail. And if I'm trying to get to this location here, once I get up in here and I turn south, now I really don't have much of a handrail from here, but I have a backstop, all right? The backstop, once I get here going this direction, is gonna be a main road down here is a backstop, all right? If I'm going this way, or this direction, I should say, my backstop could be this creek. If I'm going this direction, my backstop could be this pipeline. If I'm going this direction, my backstop could be this cliffy area right here where these lines are really, really close together, and there's a waterway that goes through here. So I kind of have a box. I have a pipeline, a creek, and a creek. So I'm kind of in a box here, and I can use those tools to my advantage. So if I'm looking for something like an attack point from here to get to here, maybe my attack point is finding this high ground, right? This high ground or this high ground, either one, or this high ground. This is the highest 3 pieces of points in this area. If I can get to one of those on this trail, then I'm gonna get to this trailhead, right? That's pretty simple. I could also have used something, if I didn't know where this location was, this trailhead, and I'm trying to find this, you can see that all of this terrain goes downhill from here out to the pipeline. I could measure distance up the pipeline from a known location and then just follow this straight up until I get to the highest ground and use that for my attack point with a direct line distant azimuth here if I didn't realize that was on a trail, okay? My escape azimuth in here could be any of these directions or this direction. However, to get back to where I started is basically my escape azimuth. So my escape azimuth always has to be back to this pipeline I came up of originally because that's gonna be the closest to where I started. So my escape azimuth is gonna be whatever a direct line distance is from here to that pipeline. And it's probably gonna be somewhere in the 270 range. And that's what I'm gonna plug into my compass as an escape azimuth and write down in my notebook. If I get completely lost in here, I plug 270 in and I walk 270 until I hit the pipeline. That's an escape azimuth, okay? Aiming off would be something I would do not for this scenario. But if I were, say I'm operating in this area and I've camped here and I start walking out in here doing some exploring and I've got my camp on this creek, or even if I had my camp close to or on the pipeline, I could aim off in the direction of my lateral drift, whichever direction that is, just a few degrees so that when I hit that linear object, I know which direction to turn to get back to my camp or get back to my start location. So if I were here and decided, okay, I want to walk the straight line distance from here to here, which is going to be much shorter than doing all of this, and I want to do a straight line distance, if my lateral drift is to the left, then I'm going to aim left on purpose, knowing that when I hit this pipeline, I can always walk right to get to that trailhead again. All right, guys, we're going to talk a lot more about these navigational tools, and we're going to use them on maps when we're planning routes. What I want to do with you guys is I have been doing some exploration out into this wildlife area behind the school property here to find trails that are not on the map, and then map those trails and transfer them to the map so that I can use them later on for planning purposes. So that's kind of what we're going to get to, is we're going to get to, hey, this is the area we want to go to. This is how we're going to get there and attack this. And then once we get there, we're going to try to find these trails. We're going to map these trails, bring them back and put them on the map and transfer them so we have a visual of exactly what's going on. And then what we can also do to verify our findings, and we'll talk about this later as well, is we can map it with a tracking app like Gaia, which follows us around as we walk. We can take those grid coordinates right off of Gaia for every single turn, plot them to the map, and they should fairly match the terrain that's showing on the map where that trail is that we put in now to the terrain it's showing on Gaia, so that we can verify our findings, okay? And verify that what we did was right. We'll get into that later on. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business, for all our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. And I will keep going with this 10 minutes to better nav until I get tired of teaching it or until you guys are expert navigators. Thanks.